بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعزائي طلبة وطالبات شهادة الثانوية العامة قسم رياضات لغات، أهلا بكم. اليوم إن شاء الله هناخد الوحدة الثانية في مادة الاستاتيكا وهي العزوم. Welcome my dear student in our math program for secondary 3. Today we are taking second unit in static. Its title, look at my dear student the moments. My dear student, what is the meaning of moments? We have plane, inside it a body, a force act on the body, its symbol F, and R position vector of the force when act on the body. What is the moment about point O? Moment O equals R vector cross F vector. Look at my dear student, O is the center of moment. We have force act on the body at point A. Moment of the force about point O, the center of moment, equals R. What is the R? Vector, position vector of the point A about O, cross F vector. Definition: moment of the force F with respect to the point O, it's denoted by MO vector and is defined as the vector quantity R vector cross F vector. Moment O about O equal R vector cross F vector, where R vector position vector of any point A on the line of action of the force with respect to the point O. O is called the center of the moment. My dear student, magnitude of the moment of F about O equals what? Equals R or F cross L. F cross L. What is the L? L length of the arm. Unit of moment. Unit of moment equal unit of the force times unit of the length. Newton meter or dyne centimeter. Length of the arm equals norm moment over F. Length of the arm of moment equals norm of the moment over F. Then length of perpendicular from O on the line of the action of F. My dear student, remark, moment of a force respect to the point is constant and is independent on position of a point. Algebraic measure of the moment, number 1, moment O equal FL. Look at, my dear student, if the force act on the body, therefore we have two directions of the moment. Look at the first direction is positive anti-clockwise. The force F rotate about O in anti-clockwise direction, then moment is positive. Number 2, moment equals or algebraic moment about O negative FL. Look at, my dear student, the force act on the body with clockwise is negative measure. The force F rotate about in the clockwise direction is negative moment. Number 3, moment about O may be equal 0 if the line of action of the force passes through the origin point or the point O. Then we deduce that we have 3 algebraic moment. The number 1 positive, negative, or equal 0. My dear student, note that L is called the moment arm. Algebraic measure of moment of the force may be positive about point when, while it may be negative about another point and may be equal 0 about third point. Remember, my dear student, algebraic measure of moment of any force may be positive about a point, while it may be negative about another point and may be equal 0 about a third point. Look at, my dear student, this is the force act on the point or body at point A. Look at, direction of the moment is negative or positive. Excellent student. Moment about F about point anti-clockwise is positive. But if we have other point B, then algebraic measure of moment is negative. Why? Because its direction is clockwise. Look at third, moment equal 0 about point C. Why? Because the line of action of the force passes through the point C. Therefore, moment about A is positive, moment about B is negative, moment about C equal 0. Principle of moment. Virgin theorem. The moment of a force F about a point equals the sum of the moments of components of the force about the same point. My dear student, look at important theorem. Important theorem, Virgin theorem, say the moment of the force F about a point equals sum of moments of the components of the force about the same point. Look at, my dear student, we have two axes, x-axis and y-axis. Look at, if force act on the body, we resolve this force F about two components, Fx and Fy. Look at, F, my dear student, act on the body, then we resolve F about two perpendicular axes, Fx and Fy. Component of the force F, Fx and Fy are position vector about the force from the point O. Look at, in the opposite figure, we find the value of F equals Fxi plus Fyj. Therefore, my dear student, we are translate to theorem of moments. Theory of moments say the sum of moments of a number of coplanar forces meeting at a one point with respect to any point in the space equals the moment of resultant of these forces with respect to the same point. Sum of moments of number of coplanar forces meeting at one point respect to any point and the space equals the moment of resultant of these forces with respect to the same point. Let F1 force or the first force, second force, third force and Fn force are system of coplanar force and all their lines of acting are meeting at one point A, and O is any point in the space. Moment about O equals what, my dear student? R vector cross F1 vector plus R vector cross F2 vector plus R vector cross F3 vector and so on to R vector cross Fn vector. Sum of moments equals R vector cross R vector. What is the R vector? Sum of the forces or resultant of the forces, where R is the resultant of all forces. This meaning of theorem of moments. My dear student, look at a body about point A. We have more forces act on the body, F1, F2, F3 to Fn act on the body at point A, then the moment of or the sum of moments of forces about the body equal moment of the resultant of these forces at the body on the same point. My dear student, look at the important example. If the force F equal 4I minus 3j, point A equal 2, 3, 2 component to 3. It's ordered pair. Find moment vector of the force about number 1, the origin point O, number 2, the point B, its components -1, 2. My dear student, we have a force 4I minus 3j act on the body. Find moment of the vector of the force about the origin point O 0, 0 and find the moment vector of the force F about the point B -1, 2. My dear student, look at the solution. Number 1, we find R vector OA vector equals A minus O or 2I minus 3j. Moment about O equals OA vector cross F vector. My dear student, OA vector 2I vector plus 3j vector cross F vector 4I vector minus 3j vector. And cross multiplication, we multiply 2 times -3 minus 3 times 4. Then 2 times -3 minus 3 times 4 and vector k equal -18 k vector. This moment about origin point O. Look at if we have force F act on the body about point A 2, 3 Then R1 is a position vector, but when we find B a vector minus B vector, a vector 2i plus 3j minus B vector negative I plus 2j equal 3i plus 4j. This is B a vector. Find moment about B vector equal B a vector cross F vector. B a vector equals 3i plus j vector cross F vector 4i minus 3j vector. We multiply 3 times negative 3 minus what? Excellent student, 1 times 4. K vector equals negative 13k vector. Therefore, this moment about B vector, moment vector about point B equal negative 13k. Look at, my dear student, F vector, this point A 2/3, 2, 3, ordered pair, but B negative 1, 2. This position are to B A minus B. To find R vector and R vector cross F vector equal moment about point B. Now we are translate to another example. If the force F equals 3i minus 4j acts at the point A, this point its ordered pair to negative 1. Find the length of the perpendicular drawn from the point B equal 8, negative 4. This point B, its ordered pair 8, negative 4 on the line of the action of this force. My dear student, we have force F, its component 3i minus 4j act on the body at point A, its order to negative 1. The required, find the length of perpendicular drawn from the point B, its order 8, negative 4, or its component 8, negative 4 on the line of the action of this force. Look at the solution. My dear student, B a vector minus B vector, or point A minus point B. A, point 2i minus 4 minus j minus B, 8i minus 4j equal negative 6i plus 3j. Then moment about B equals BA or R vector cross F vector. What is the component of BA vector? Negative 6i plus 3j cross F vector, its component 3i minus 4j. We multiply negative 6 times negative 4 minus 3 times 3. Answer is 15k. This moment about B. Look at norm B equals square root equal 15. Norm F equals square root 3 power 2 plus negative 4 power 2 equals 5. What is the length of the arm? Length of perpendicular. What is the rule? Excellent student. Norm moment over F, or magnitude of the force. Then length of perpendicular equal 15 over 5 equal 3 length unit. This is the moment, this is the length of perpendicular equals moment about F. My dear student, in this lesson we find length of perpendicular or length of the arm of moment. Moment equals R cross F. Algebraic moment equal FL or LF. And we know that moment has 3 or 2 directions, may be equal 0. Direction of the moment is positive if the moment anticlockwise. Moment is negative if the direction of the force about the point in clockwise. Direction of the moment equals 0 if the force act on the body or the line of the force passes through the point when find the moment about this point. And we know that length of the arm equals moment or equals norm of moment over F. Then we have moment and F. If we find the length of perpendicular or length of the arm, we divided norm of the moment about algebraic measure of the force. My dear student, we translate to another title. Look at another example. If the force F1 equal I minus J, F2 equal 4I plus J, F3 equals 2I plus 2J. Act at the point A, its order negative 4, 1, FB its order negative 1, 2, and C equals 2, 0. D its order or its component negative 4, negative 2. Prove using moments that the line of action of the resultant number 1 parallel to BC vector, number 2 bisects CD vector. Look at the solution. My dear student, look at our resultant of the forces F1 plus F2 vector plus F3 vector equals summation of 3 forces, components of I plus component of J, R vector equals 3I vector minus 2J vector. Therefore, my dear student, BA vector equal point A minus point B, negative 4I plus J minus negative 1 plus 2J equal negative 3I plus J. This BA vector or R vector. Therefore, moment about B equals moment of resultant about B equal BA vector cross R vector. BA vector negative 3I vector negative J vector times R vector its component 3I vector minus 2J vector. Then negative 3 times negative 2 equals 6 minus 1 times 3 minus negative 1 times 3 equals 3, 6 plus 3 equals 9K. Then moment about B equals 9K. Remember, my dear student, CF vector equal A vector minus C vector by the same method. CF vector cross R vector equal moment C vector. Negative 6I vector plus J vector cross 3I vector minus 2J vector equal 12 plus 3 vector plus 3K vector equal 9K vector. 12 minus 3, therefore moment B equals moment C. What you mean? The line of action of F parallel to BC. Why? Because moment about B equals moment about C. Then we deduce that line of action parallel to BC. Important remark, my dear student, if we prove that the line of the action of the force parallel to BC, we must find moment about B and moment about C and must M be or moment about B equal moment about C. Therefore, the force or the line of the action of the F parallel to BC line. Number 2, moment about C equal 9K, since the A vector equal A vector minus D vector. Negative 4I vector plus J vector minus negative 4I vector negative 2J vector equal 3J vector. Then moment about D, moment F about D equals dA cross F, or cross resultant of the force equals 3J cross 3I minus 2J equal negative 9K. What you mean, my dear student? MC equal negative moment about C equal negative moment about D. What you mean? The line of action of the force bisect what? CD or DC. My dear student, by the end of the lesson, we know that moment about the force at any point is very important lesson. If we prove that the line of the action of the force or the resultant parallel to line, we must find the moment about the first point equals moment about the second point. Then we know that the line of the action of the force parallel to line of AB example. My dear student, by the end of the lesson, I am very happy to spend such time with you. Thank you. Goodbye.